Jimmy Butler's East title run. He averaged over 37 points on nearly 60% from the floor in the Heat's 5-game upset of the top-seeded Milwaukee Bucks, including a 56-point game floor. Don't forget, the Bucks were the favorites to win the whole thing. He then led his team to the Big Apple, missing Game 2 against the Knicks with a sprained ankle, but still pacing Miami in scoring as the Heat won the semifinals in 6. And then he left Boston with a Larry Bird trophy for Eastern Conference Finals MVP, which he didn't even want to touch because the job's not done. Not interested in that MVP, scoring at least 25 points in 4 of the 7 games against Celtics, including 28 in the clincher. Joined here now at the Seaport by Monica McNutt. Hello, stranger.
Hi, Max.
And Tim Bontemps, who I see practically every day. Okay, sure. Now, the Heat are going to win the finals. I said it. I'm going to go ahead and say it. And Jimmy Butler is going to be known as the best player in the world when it's done. And I will tell you why. Because I want you to go back in your mind's eye to the Bucks series. I don't go, Giannis missed a couple of games. Stop. The Bucks were supposed to win this whole thing. You probably would have picked them against whoever came out of the West. Most people did. They were the favorites in the whole NBA. He beat them. It didn't even go the distance. They put up very little resistance, in fact. Then the Knicks, okay, fine, they're supposed to beat the Knicks, I get it, but that's a tough team. They got rid of them and under the distance. And then just now against the Celtics, they battled all the way back to a Game 7 at Boston. And what happened? Guys, they have guys, not just like Strus or Duncan Robinson who can shoot. They have guys who can do some stuff. Gabe Vincent, right? And Martin. And if they get Hero back, and I'm done underestimating Jimmy Butler. I'm done just taking the moral high ground by saying, oh, he's going to give him a fight. That's what we say every round, and he wins. Monica, am I out of my mind?
You're not out of your mind. And we've been on the show together a few times, and you say some things that are absolutely out of your mind. But you are not out of your mind on this one. This is tricky for my Vegas folks. It's very tricky. There is a world in which you are absolutely correct. And I think for me, we are going to see some of the best coaching X's and O's, some of the biggest heart in this next round. I am not ready to go there. And maybe that changes by Game 3. I think in terms of the advantage that the Heat had over all the 3 teams that they just beat, one is obviously Jimmy Butler, who has only been second in these playoffs, arguably, to Nikola Jokic. But the last series in particular, hungrier team, better team, more connected team, and the results are as we have seen. Countered in this upcoming series, just as connected, just as hungry.
You want to be sitting on the shelf for 10 days while these guys are
I don't buy that.
being forged in the crucible of competition?
Hold on, before you do all that. This rust thing is ridiculous. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. They're not going to be rusty. This is not.
It's never happened that a team cools off for 10 days?
It has happened to other teams, not teams that have sat at number 1 all regular season long and have rolled through the playoffs with precision. This is not happening to them.
I mean, look, I think if Jimmy Butler can pull this off, if he can win 4 more games against Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets, goes back to me to what Dirk went through the playoffs back in 2011,
yes.
right? And went through KD and the Warriors, went through Kobe and the Lakers, goes to the finals, goes through that LeBron and Wade team, and then he was sitting at the top of the mountain. Certainly you can make the argument at that point that Jimmy's at the top of the mountain. I think as of today and going into this series, I think Denver's going to win. I think Nikola Jokic is going to be at the top of the mountain because the guy just averaged a triple-double each of the last 2 series and has answered the bell in every way he needed to going into a playoffs when I thought he had more pressure on him than any player in the league, given his past accomplishments and the fact that this was the first time you could look at this Denver team and say, okay, they should win. Now, are they going to? And I think with him carrying the weight of those expectations, I think right now it's a little higher than Jimmy going through these teams when they've been able to play the, nobody believes in this underdog card.
If Jokic wins, because you mentioned the pelts that Dirk put on the wall.
That's right.
There's KD, there's Kobe, right? And there's LeBron. He was at the end of that year.
That's right.
Not the following year, not the previous. That year he was the best player in the world. And that's what Jimmy Butler would do here.
If he wins 4 more games,
has pelts on the wall right now, no question.
If Jimmy wins 4 more games, he's got that argument. If Jimmy wins 4 more games, that's the argument's right there.
We're seeing it the same way. Are we seeing it the same way?
Yeah.
If he does it, are you willing to say that Jimmy Butler is the best player in the world?
Oh, whoa.
See?
Whoa. I mean, I guess you got to by math of Jokic being currently that guy that
like we talked about yesterday. At minimum, Jimmy Butler puts himself in the conversation, which 6 weeks ago, nobody was saying that. And that's because of the run.
Jimmy Butler is like Rocky Balboa or something. Like he's a guy, he's the underdog who's by dint of his will, of his determination to win, of his heart, is slaying teams. I mean, you're not supposed. Giannis was about to be coronated. He is now taking over for LeBron. He's the best.
I'm with you.
Jimmy,
Listen, you've had crazy takes. This is not a crazy take. This is not a crazy take at all. I think this series is going to be a lot closer than Vegas certainly indicates.
We'll see if it can get.
We begin this hour starting with a look at how the Nuggets got to this point. Jokic and the Nuggets were so good after earning the top seed in the Western Conference. Denver played the Timberwolves in the first round. The Nuggets opened the series with a 29-point win and took the series in 5 games, only dropping 1 game in overtime. Next, the Nuggets took down the Western Conference favorites, knocking off Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and the Phoenix Suns. Jokic averaged a triple-double in the series, including 35 points per game. Most recently, Denver took out LeBron and the Lakers right out of the playoffs, earning the franchise's first finals appearance all time. The Nuggets completed that sweep nearly a week and a half ago. This means they are rested, and depending on how you want to look at it, the Nuggets could have the easiest ride to a title in NBA history. They've played 2 8 seeds, a 7 seed and a 4 seed. Those opponents would make up the highest combined seeding for a team since postseason began seeding in 1984. So welcome in our reporter, Om Young-Masuk. He's been covering Denver throughout these playoffs, and Om, 24 hours plus until Game 1 tips. What unique challenges will Denver present to the Heat?
Matt, Nikola Jokic's triple-double wizardry is not the only thing that leaves opponents breathless in Denver. The mile-high altitude is not a myth. LeBron James says it is real, and the Nuggets plan on leading into this. General Manager Calvin Booth did a study basically to see how the Nuggets can take advantage of their altitude and even what other teams that play at elevation do to try to get into the heads of opponents. And even one of the greatest trash talkers of all time, Kevin Garnett, says it does mess with your mental. From the moment that the team gets off the bus, the Heat will walk past a mural that says 5,280 feet. They will see that number at the free throw line. They will hear Kyle Speller, the PA address announcer, even drop it from time to time during games. The Nuggets train for this at Red Rocks in the offseason, and they use this altitude to their advantage. They've had 9 days since Game 4 against the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals to Game 1 to acclimate. The Miami Heat arrive, and they only have about 2 days to adapt to this altitude. Aaron Gordon, who knows what it's like to come from Florida and play in this altitude, said, you feel it in your legs. It's as if there's not enough oxygen getting to your muscles. And the Nuggets plan on trying to run early and make the Heat feel it.
Oh, and that is great reporting and something that perhaps people looking on the outside of this game might not understand, that, in fact, the elements indoors, even the altitude, could affect this series. Check out Ohm's column on ESPN.com and the ESPN app. Thank you.
Now to the Eastern Conference champions, the Miami Heat. It's easy to forget that they actually lost their first play-in game of the postseason when they fell to the Hawks in the fight for the 7 seed. But they did earn the 8 seed by holding off the Bulls in the final play-in game. Their reward was a meeting with the #1 overall seed, Giannis, and the Milwaukee Bucks, but Miami handled Milwaukee with relative ease. They won in just 5 games. Giannis, of course, did not play in 2 of them, but still, Jimmy Butler, he exploded late in this series, scoring a playoff franchise record 56 points in Game 4, closing things out with another 42 points in Game 5. The Knicks were next in the conference semis, took 6 games, but once again, Miami rose to the occasion. Jimmy Butler, awesome again, averaging 25, 7, and 6 in that series. And then, of course, they jumped out to that 3-0 lead over the Celtics in the conference finals before allowing Boston to fight its way all the way back in. They showed up, though. They dominated on the road, Game 7, earning yet another trip to the NBA Finals. So if they were to beat the Nuggets in the finals, Miami would become just the 4th team in history to beat 3 different top 2 seeds in a single postseason, joining the 04 Pistons, the 02 Lakers, and the 95 Rockets as the only teams to do so. So the Cinderella storyline continues as we say hello to Heat reporter Nick Friedel. Hello again, Nick. The rest of the NBA world might have doubted the Heat, but the Heat have not doubted themselves once, led, of course, by Jimmy Butler. His 4th season in Miami. Nick, what's the rest of the organization saying about the leadership role that he has played during this run?
Sage, the confidence that he gives this team is palpable. Eric Spoelstra said, we know what he gives us on the floor, but off of it, you can't quantify what he does day after day. They believe they can win because Jimmy has instilled the belief in these players that they can do it. Kyle Lowry said, we ride with him and he rides with us. Gabe Vincent told me the support that Jimmy gives us in this room is unwavering. Spoelstra was walking around the locker room, Sage, and he said, Jimmy speaks our language. He knows exactly what we need, and he's tough like we're tough, but he has an emotional edge to him that everybody else feeds off of. And all they want is to keep these games close because they feel like they have the best closer in the game. And we have watched Jimmy elevate his game time and again throughout the postseason. Even hearing you go through the timeline there, I can't believe that we're standing here watching the Heat and Jimmy Butler do this, but they can. And that belief is all over the place right now for that organization.
He's gotten them really close. Question is now, can he take them to that next level? Wait, Nick, real quick. Matt wants to.
Yeah, look, just on the off day, Keith Sweat concert, and Sage just really wanted to ask you, who can treat you like me? Nobody.
Nobody.